is served by a regional center could lose comprehensive healthcare coverage under Medi-Cal due to state budget solutions enacted in 2025. And as we noted previously, loss of Medi-Cal coverage could create fiscal pressures for regional centers to pay for certain healthcare services for consumers at full cost to the state if no other source of healthcare is available. We also wanted to note that our office has heard some concerns about individuals' experiences requesting that their regional center act as payer of last resort to provide a service not available through any other sources. So similar to what we noted for IHSS, the degree to which regional centers might be able to fund healthcare services as a substitute for Medi-Cal could vary across regional centers in practice.
Department of Finance?
Mark Sanchez, Department of Finance. Nothing further to add.
I'll start off by just stating an obvious red flag to me, and that is almost in every hearing, no matter what the subject is, it seems as though the cost savings are coming from a shift of fiscal responsibility to the counties. And when you add all of that up, it makes me wonder what makes you all think that the counties can withstand a shift, whether they be CalFresh, whether they be in-home supportive services, whether they be on IDD work, other things. It seems to me that there's an assumption, but maybe it's not an assumption. So can you share with me, and this can be for the administration or Department of Finance, what gives you the confidence that they can be able to withstand that cost shift, but still maintain hours, still maintain services at the same time?
Chair Jackson, I'll start. Claire Ramsey from CDSS. With respect to IHSS, we do have one proposal that would increase costs to the county based on them going above a baseline that is jointly set. So there is a lot of discussion, to the Leo's point, about working out what the practice would look like, what the baseline would be set. We do know that a lot of conversations would be happening. Counties are fully in control of hours assessments, and that's why we are putting forth this proposal, and think it is a proposal that is workable because the counties will have control of the assessments. But, we are sensitive to the fact that this has been an extraordinarily hard year on the counties in terms of particularly HR 1 proposals that do involve increased costs. I'll defer to my colleague at Department of Finance for the broader question you've asked.
Good afternoon, Lourdes Morales with the Department of Finance. The comment I'll add to my colleague's comment related to the proposal for assessed hours is that our proposal also includes a resetting of baseline on an annual basis. And so there is an acknowledgement from the administration that there may be sort of natural growth. And so as long as there is this baseline that sort of allows for that, counties would only incur costs to the extent that they are sort of over that changing baseline. So I just wanted to make that point, that it's not inherent that counties would absorb additional cost as a result of this. It just really reflects on where they are relative to the baseline that we'll work with counties to establish. I'll also highlight for this proposal in particular, we're proposing a budget year +1, so a 27-28 implementation, so we can continue to discuss the particulars of the implementation as we realize that those are critical.
I seldom see the administration and counties agreeing on a number. And as a matter of fact, I think next week we're going to have another meeting about a disagreement on numbers. So I'm wondering, I'm just worried about whenever you do a cost shift to counties, and even if you are increasing the baseline funding to counties to be able to try to mitigate that, there is a natural assumption to me that a way for them to stay within their funding is going to be a natural cutting of hours or something that's going to end up hurting the client as opposed to ensuring that the client has everything that they need to be on a pathway to thrive. And so, which is why in many cases, this committee prefers that the state holds on to it so that we ensure that the county, that the client is getting what they need. So, so we're reluctant to support such a shift because this is not the only shift happening. And so if you can share with us what that baseline intends to be, or if you haven't, because you might be still talking with counties, which is still understandable, just know this, is that whenever we see that number, we are going to be going to counties. I'm going to be going to my county, or I won't be going home, in order to ensure that they have what they need. The realignment screwed over counties. And many counties and many programs are on life support because of it. And I don't want to do another decision like that until we are confident that at the end of the day it won't end up hurting the client, right? So I appreciate that, but I'm a bit skeptical at this point. Questions, comments, committee members? Anyone? Okay. Assembly member?
Thank you. I just want to echo the sentiments of the chair. I think it's more than concerning, or it's more than concerning the cuts and the cost shifts down to the county. Our county is experiencing monumental shifts right now due to the structural deficit that the state has, the federal cuts due to HR 1. Just in my county, in Santa Clara County, we were the first to enact a sales tax increase of over $300 million to save our local county hospital system. Many counties are now attempting to do the same, but it doesn't backfill the over $1 billion in cuts that Santa Clara County alone is facing. And we are in a world of hurt in the county that has one of the largest concentration of millionaires and billionaires, that also has some of the most extreme income inequality, which is often not talked about and is burden on our county, where we have had to take over and buy several hospitals in the last few years, where we are heavily reliant on a federated system to support our healthcare. It's the second largest healthcare system in California, Santa Clara County. And so to now see the state proposal, which is sympathetic in trying to make impossible choices due to the situation that we're in, but as the chair has commented, won't be receiving a lot of sympathy from the state legislature on trying to balance our budget on the backs of people who are already pushed on the brink, and our persistent exclusion of revenue options to alleviate state and county concerns is also deeply troubling. And so I recognize the difficult position that the administration is in, and our capable Department of Finance, but I would presume that this committee and several members of the legislature will be pushing back very forcefully in ways that we haven't perhaps in the past, and do more than just register our displeasure, because the decisions that this committee makes based on the recommendations of the department will have very consequential effects that will impact these there's a better way of doing it. And I would charge us to try and look at those solutions, including revenue that needs to be on the table, because we can't cut our way out of this budget without irreparable harm in and to communities that are already pushed to the brink. And as the chair has mentioned very publicly, that in the past, bad things happen when people are pushed to desperate levels of basic human decency. And it is our charge to take care of the least among us. And I take that responsibility very seriously, as do my colleagues. And so I merely suggest that we're going to mean what we say when we say we need to go back and look at other solutions, because this truly needs to be compromised and leaving no stone unturned. But the suggestions that I'm hearing about, as the chair mentioned, I have to go back to my county too and effectively advocate in their best interest. And I can, in good conscience, support or not speak up of the cost shifting into the county. They're just going through too many devastating fronts that they don't need ones created by us. And I know that many of you and all of you know that, but I do think that we need to be more loud about finding other solutions. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Dr. Sharp Collins.
I wanted to say to Anna, thank you. You being here, I know that it took a lot. It took a lot. And watching you, not only for your testimony, but even as my colleagues speak, you're tapping your leg now. The funding for this means the world to you and everybody else here in this room. And you being here, as I always talk about, humanizing the situation, putting a face to the name, reminding us that this is the reason why we're here. You're right, I can't go back to my district without having an answer, without having a fix. But I just wanted to acknowledge, so you'll know that you are seen and you have been heard here today. It's on record that you are here advocating not only for yourself and for your family, but your providers. You said you have 12 that come into your home?
Yes, ma'am.
12.
12 caregivers.
12.
And we have as a backup another 6.
Mm-hmm.
In total, there are 18.
That's your livelihood. You guys are all family now.
Yes, ma'am, we are. I have the lucky to say they are my family. I immigrated to this country and I don't have nobody except my caretakers to count on it. And for me, they are my family. And all the families that I serve in my nonprofit, they are the people, they are my family. And these subjects, regional centers, medical, income support service, touch home. And for me is the word.
And that's what I want to highlight in this conversation, that it's not just about them being your providers, your caretakers. This is your family. This is what happens when you have services such as IHSS. When you do have the regional centers and everything else, it's not just about the services, but this is your livelihood, this is their livelihood, and this is what you need to be able to do what you do. I did put forth a 3-part budget ask. One, of course, still rejecting the proposal to shift the state share of IHSS hours per case growth to counties. I also, that letter talks about rejecting the proposal for the alignment. It also talks about basically all 3 points that were made in the last panel. We did submit that budget letter, the budget ask. And so not only is myself and colleagues who all signed on to that letter, we're going to continue to advocate to ensure that we do what we know is right and not
cause more hurt and pain, put more burden on you guys, adding more walls, more barriers, putting more barriers in place. So just seeing you and others in this room, um, I'm happy. I really am happy. It's not that often I get this humble, Dr. Jackson. I'm like, this is very heavy, and this is why I'm here. So I thank you for allowing me to be here and to hear your story. My county is struggling as well. They've been here. We've had our conversations. I've spoken with UDW and others. The county can't handle it. They're trying to shift funds from reserves and all these things to try to be able to move forward. But it's hard when they're in a budget crisis too. So, Dr. Jackson, thank you for leading this work. As I said to one of my colleagues yesterday about them being a moral compass of a certain field, you are also a moral compass when it comes to advocating for social services. I appreciate you.
I appreciate you too, and we appreciate our witnesses. And um, obviously, there's no community more unifying that brings Democrats and Republicans together than our IDD brothers and sisters. And there's not going to be as much, and we promised from the very beginning, I promised 3 years ago, this community is not at the back of the line, they're now at the front of the line. And we're going to keep that commitment. And so we're going to do whatever we can to make sure that at the end of the day, what goes on between state and the county, that's for us to worry about. What you need to worry about is, do you get the services that you need to making sure that you stay stable and that you can have a high quality of life and be on your pathway to thrive. We'll figure out the rest of it, but at the end of the day, that remains our priority. Director, I'm going to ask you to provide us with some sort of harm mitigation strategy. What are we going to do to make sure, what are you all planning for to make sure that the services that clients are being provided with are going to be able to stay stable, right? And what can be some alternatives to just a cost shift that can help to ensure that we are keeping clients stable and we are preventing any threat of a possible lowering of hours and those type of things. We've got to figure this baby out. And so we're going to ask if you can provide us with some harm mitigation strategy before the May revise, and all the different things we can do, whether it's through from ICE, that will again keep these families stable. Trying to figure out what are some other options as well. CDSS, if you can help us out, especially in terms of the in-home supportive services part of it, is going to be important. And then we're also going to ask for the same type of help from Department of Healthcare Services if they need to be a part of any type of harm mitigation. We just need to know what our options are. One of the greatest mistakes we made during the Great Recession, and the reason why we're asking all these questions, is that we did a lot of across-the-board type cuts that we are now just recovering from a decade later, or more than a decade later. How old am I? Oh, Lord. Sorry, I just had some trauma there. I had to, oh Lord, how old am I? Dang it, what happened? What happened to me?
I'm 36.
Stop. You almost made me cuss. But a part of that is is because so we want to make sure that we take a surgical approach here. There's no doubt we have to live within our means. But to me, that means it's just a priority issue, and it's us making sure that we're being as innovative as possible, and that even if the way to do this becomes more complicated, the complication is worth it to us. But it takes us having these conversations now instead of the very rushed and chaotic process that happens a week after the May revise, where we don't get any sleep, where we are forgetting what our priorities can be. We're missing details, and we don't want to do that. We don't want to harm anyone that does not need to be harmed, if humanly possible. And so we're going to ask for this harm mitigation strategy, or whatever your strategy is, to prevent harm and to prevent any instability. And if there are alternative ways we can accomplish this, because I understand there's a structural deficit that the governor wants to solve for. We understand that much of the increases, or a significant portion of the structural deficit, is in the Medi-Cal space. Totally understand that. But we also want to make sure that we are looking at all of our options as possible as well. So if you can provide that to us before the May revise, hopefully by Friday, May 1st, that'll be great. Happy to, please, if there's follow-up questions, fire away through our staffs as much as we can. Whatever we need to do, let's think about this. But I want to make sure our goal is to prevent harm. Any other questions or comment? LAO, do you have anything? Any other questions or comments from panelists? Everyone good? Okay. Thank you very much to this panel.